hope your day is full of aquariums and safaris and chimpanzees and animals and exhibits and reptiles and zebras and primates and antelope. I don't know really what this intro is. It was originally going to be like zoo themed, but things got a little bit weird. I don't know if it's because I smoked a little bit of weed before I started this. It could easily be because of that. Who's to say? Who's to know? Guys, this week's episode of Shank is a banger. You're going to love it. The guest this week is Lukas Nelson, who's an amazing musician. You're really going to enjoy it. But before we get into this week's episode, I need to tell you what gets me excited. What gets me excited? CBD. That's right. I get anxious. People ask me, Sarah, do you get anxious? And I say, yes, I get anxious often. Why? Because life is anxiety producing. Why? Who's to say? You know, there's climate change issues. There's technology issues. There's self-loathing issues we all face. And what makes me feel better? CBD. Why? Because it helps with my anxiety. I specifically use Care by Design sublingual drops. I just put them underneath my tongue and they chill your girl out. I'm a big fan of them. You guys can check out all the Care by Design products at carebydesign.com. And if you go to ease.com and you enter discount code SHANK, SHENK, you will get 20% off on all CBD items by Care by Design. You're welcome. Also, they make an amazing topical lotion. I don't know if you guys suffer from muscle stiffness or aches and pains or whatever, and you're trying to find a natural way to relieve that. Try a CBD cream. The shit works. I know, I've tried it. I try a lot of CBD stuff, and I truly can't recommend Care by Design enough. And yeah, guys, another thing that gets me excited is sleep. That's right, sleep. It's important. We all need sleep. Why? Because without sleep, we'd be fucked. I wasn't planning on saying we'd be fucked, but it just happened. And I keep my intros real. So, Absolute Extracts also sponsors this show. They're an amazing distillate brand, and they make all kinds of different cannabis products. One of my favorite things that they make are their Sleepy Time sublingual drops. You drop a little bit underneath your tongue, and this shit knocks you out. You will sleep better than any sleep you've ever gotten in your life. You will sleep 8 hours minimum. I guarantee it. It's better than NyQuil, better than ZQuil, better than Lunesta. I made that tagline up myself. I keep saying it. If you've listened to my intros, every time I'll be like, it's better than NyQuil, better than ZQuil, better than Lunesta. And then I normally say, and I haven't even tried Lunesta. Basically, what I'm saying is I write my commercials myself. They're real. They're shanky. You love it. All right. For all of my show dates, you can check out my Instagram at Princess Shank on Instagram and Twitter. I post all of my comedy dates there. Also, make sure to check out my Comedy Central web series, Shanks for Smoking, on Comedy Central YouTube Original. Also, I've added video to my podcast, so you can check that out on my YouTube, Sara Weinshenk YouTube page, and I'll put clips from it on my Instagram. And yeah, let me know who you guys want to hear on the show, if there's any special guests you're looking forward to me having on. I love hearing from you guys. Also, fashion questions, you can email shank, SHENK, .pod@gmail.com. And also special thanks to Speedweed and BetterBox.com. Check out BetterBox.com. And thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Shank. Here's this week's episode with Lukas Nelson, everyone. Enjoy it. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Shank. I'm Sara Weinshenk, and today's guest is Lukas Nelson.
Hello.
Hi, I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm very, very, very happy to be here. I had a good time with you on Getting Dug with High.
That was so fun, right?
That was a great time. We did.
We got high. I got to try your mom's or your dad's chocolates.
Yeah.
What are they called?
Well, the company's called Willie's Reserve, but the chocolates are, my mom's name is Annie, and I'm pretty sure it's like Annie's Chocolates or something.
They're so good.
Yeah. They were really good. And there's a funny story that goes behind that. When I was a kid, not a kid. I was like 21, but I was here in LA, and Woody Harrelson had a sample of one of my mom's early chocolates, and this was
Really?
before and my mom started making these weed chocolates. Mind you, she was super strict on me about smoking weed until I was of age, right? And then at that point, once she kind of figured out that I was gonna try in life.
Yeah.
I think that was,
Yeah.
that I was a hard worker, and that
Right.
that she kind of let go a little bit, and then she ended up doing a complete about face and making like the strongest chocolates. And she made this chocolate that Woody and I ate at about 11 in the morning, and I think I had a flight that night. I nearly missed it.
No.
I mean, she hadn't quite perfected the levels way back
Right.
then,
Right.
and now she's got it in such a great. She's been doing it for. I mean, that was, shoot, almost 10 years ago.
That's so crazy. Like, I wish my mom was cooking up edibles.
She's doing a great job of it.
She really is. And they taste really good.
She is,
They're like
yeah.
little chocolate, kind of like coins, right?
Yeah, there were the little chocolate coins, and she's got just the right. It's a dark chocolate with a little salt, just the right.
They're really fucking
yeah,
good, I
yeah.
gotta say.
Yeah, well, I wish I'd have brought some more.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I don't need more chocolate. Trying to chill on that. Do you like chocolate in general?
I do.
You're a chocolate guy?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
other types of foods do you like?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I am recently a vegetarian.
Okay.
So maybe 8 months I've been a vegetarian.
Okay, how's
And
that going?
It's good. I was a pescatarian for a long time before that, and then I sort of moved away from fish. And I've had fish maybe twice in that 8 months. Again, I'm still. Usually, if I have fish, it's like because I know where it came from.
Right.
I grew up in Maui, so I occasionally will eat a caught fish. I went swimming with dolphins one time.
You did?
In Hawaii, off the coast of the Big Island, and it changed my life. I became a vegetarian after that.
Really?
Not
Why?
a vegetarian. I became a pescatarian.
Okay. Because dolphins.
Because dolphins eat fish, but they're such like seemingly enlightened beings. Like when I was hanging out with them, I was like, if dolphins only eat fish, and yet they've got this grace and power at the same time, they're just like really, they're still. It's like it seemed like they're a very balanced animal.
Creature. They do.
Yeah.
Dolphins seem very balanced.
Yes, they're very balanced, and so I
Okay.
felt like, oh well, I should just adopt this diet because what you put in, you get out, and I should just start eating like dolphins eat. I had already been contemplating my diet changes and I turned 30, and that was a big moment in my life, sort of the culmination of my Saturn return, if you will, although I use that phrase loosely because I'm not really one for astrology or astronomy.
But technically that happens when you're
astronomy.
like 29, right?
Yeah, 27.
Oh, 27.
Yeah.
How do you explain that? It's
I don't.
Look it up. If you're curious,
I'm not.
look it
yeah,
up.
I'm a Capricorn, but I don't believe in it. I just
Yeah.
I just don't really.
Well-
There's the part I believe in parts of it. It's almost like I take it all with sort of a grain of salt.
That's smart. I mean, you can't believe everything, but some of it is real. And I do think like going from your 20s to 30 is like a big
Yeah.
change. At least like emotionally,
It's
mentally.
a huge moment in life.
It definitely is. So you're like, I want to be more dolphin-like.
I want to be more dolphin-like. I think that's a good sort of model in nature of something that I'd want to. And then eventually, you see, what happened was
Yeah.
I got dosed with LSD
Really?
against my wishes.
Where were you?
I was at a concert in I won't say where, and I won't tell how it happened.
You
but
won't say
basically,
where.
no, I won't. I don't want to talk about specifics. But basically, I was given a bottle of water that was dosed with LSD in it. And these days, even folks who lived through those times, even the merry pranksters,
Yeah.
don't do that. They realize the error of those ways,
Of taking LSD?
of forcing someone.
You can't force somebody to take LSD.
yeah,
That's
like,
fucked up. You can't
yeah.
force somebody to take acid.
No, I mean it's because some people may not handle the uncoverings, the mental stuff that comes
No.
with, you know what I mean? Like other people, a lot of people don't look at things their whole life.
And
You
then
know what
they're
I mean?
taking acid.
And then all of a sudden you have to like just confront the nature of your soul. It's like,
Yeah.
that's like a huge moment. And
Well-
like you have to be in the right place when something like that happens, and or at least be somewhere where if you were at that level of vibration, like you would be like able to process it. And
Right.
and you have to be prepared for like that kind of thing.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Otherwise, you're just going to be like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. And so what happened was I found out
Yeah.
very quickly, luckily,
Yeah.
that I found out. And then what happened after that was I realized I had to immediately forgive her because otherwise I'd be going into it holding on negative emotions
For like 12 hours.
for like 12 hours.
And the thing is with acid and a lot of other psychedelics, I feel like if you go into them with a negative frame of mind, then that kind of ripples.
Yeah,
And it's like-
it'll expand, and you'll have to work that much harder to bring yourself into a better place and state of mind. And so I was like, okay, well, I haven't done this since I was a kid, and
Right.
I don't want to do it ever again. I had no
Right.
intention of doing it. I was all good,
Right.
with that. I was like, Ram Dass is a great example.
I love Ram Dass.
He's like, at some point you just might as well go straight, because otherwise it's just ups and downs. You can't. Once you figure out, I think, what happiness is, number one, true happiness, true joy,
Right.
which doesn't come from an outside thing, it comes from within.
Right.
So, like any outside situation, your mind and your thoughts are also outside of that. Like,
Totally.
that's not who you are. You're much deeper than that.
Right.
So, like, at a certain point, you're just watching, pretty pictures.
Right.
Like you're here, you're thinking pretty thoughts. Everything's just going on all around you, and you're not actually going anywhere.
Right.
So you might as well be in a like pretty mellow place. Now the idea is to get stiller and stiller in my life and try and figure out, okay, how do I be quiet with myself so that the issues and the things I need to grow from, I can listen to myself when I'm talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like cool to be clear,
Yeah.
at this point in my life, except for the occasional, of course, weed,
Yeah.
which is short lasting and a great little sort of meditation
Vacation.
for the road,
A little
Yeah, it's like
meditation,
like
vacation.
having 3 glasses of wine and then having it fade away in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And
not doing anything
Yeah.
you regret.
Exactly. Well, maybe 3
eating.
glasses of wine, you do something you regret, but 2 glasses of wine, you're like, kind of on the edge.
Yeah.
And 1 glass of wine, and you're like, no, I'm just in,
I'm fun.
I'm fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
It's interesting because I got really into Ram Dass for a little bit. I still read some of Ram Dass, and I think it was him or Alan Watts. They say like
Love
once you
Alan
get
Watts.
the message, hang up the phone with psychedelics, which I think is kind of like a good note. Like once you've had the experience and
Yeah.
you can, you've had that spiritual experience or whatever,
Yeah.
work through your shit. It's like you don't need to keep going to that place
No,
of like
no.
tripping your face off.
But what it does teach you is that the things that are inside of you will manifest in certain ways. So you have to, the key is to joy is figuring out what those blocks are inside.
Right.
That are preventing you from allowing yourself to enjoy the present moment.
Right.
Like all the anger or resentment or lack of forgiveness for yourself or others.
Right.
That's what will cause you to be preoccupied and to seek out things like your phone or shows or this and and like
Right.
just distract yourself, which just goes back to the previous conversation we had, unbeknownst to the listeners,
Oh, about the phone?
about the phone.
Let's tell the listeners what happened with
You
the
go
phone.
ahead, yeah.
Okay, so we were outside smoking a joint, as we do, and we were talking about phones and how we're too tied to them, right?
Yeah.
And as we were talking about phones, Lucas's phone jumped off
He said,
the side of a wall.
Can I swear? Can I swear?
you can say whatever
he
the
said,
fuck
fuck
you
you, man, I'm gone, man.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you. he said, listen, you don't like me, I don't like you. I'm going to jump off this ledge.
And he literally, his phone committed suicide, like fully jumped.
Yeah.
It was so weird. That was so weird.
Well, what I saw was that and this is, I want to give the more practical listeners.
Okay.
So because there is that weirdness of the timing of it all,
Right.
which is incredible. But there was a sort of slightly uneven part this is basically a wall that and it had the top of the wall was a smaller flat surface about
Right.
a foot, and then there was the drop off, and so on top of that flat surface was an angle that sort of went towards the drop off.
Yeah.
Very slight angle, but if somebody were to text or email at that moment causing a vibration, it could cause enough momentum to create
Totally.
the falling off of the ledge. However, it happened right at the same moment.
Yeah.
It was like crazy.
I like to think that your phone committed suicide.
I think
that
it symbolically it did.
Symbolically.
It said I'm done with you, and then I had to apologize.
And then Lucas apologized to his phone.
I did.
He put it like over here and faced it like it was like a lover. And then he apologized to it. He was like, I just want to say I'm sorry for talking about you like that. I do need you. You give me access to information.
And also really a lot of moments of joy. And I'm not sure I would have all of the information. I stream Alan Watts on my phone.
I love streaming Alan Watts. on
Yeah,
my phone.
I like his lectures, and and I listen to a lecture by Ram Dass, or I will go watch a show like I'm watching this show, The Good Place, which is a great show with Kristen Bell,
I haven't watched it.
and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant thing.
Really?
Yeah, I think it. I mean, a lot of people will love it. I think.
All right, I'll have to check it out.
It's kind of about, in a way, the internal struggle of good and evil, but
Ooh.
manifested in a show. And,
Okay.
and sort of modeled on Dante's Inferno, which was the idea that there are levels of hell, and then there's limbo, and then there's heaven.
Oh,
and
shit.
and that there's all these different versions of hell that you might not think are hell. But
Really?
then you're in, but then, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Ted Danson's in it, Kristen
Ted
Bell.
Danson.
And the idea that you can, this is the most brilliant idea too, is that you can actually, depending on your sort of, depending on the pain that you carry around with you or what you've done or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you can pull yourself out of hell. And so that was the whole plot of Dante's Inferno back in the day was like this soul can move back up through the realms of hell.
Whoa, that's crazy.
into heaven.
Okay.
And escape hell, right?
Okay.
And that's entirely possible according to the common version of hell. Now, basically, I think...
So it's like, is hell like, is there like fire everywhere?
In the show?
Yeah, because that's what I picture. Like when I think of hell, I think of like, fire.
Yeah, no, it's a different type of hell.
Is it like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there are those levels.
Right.
Of that, but it's more. I don't want to give away the show.
Okay, I'll watch the show.
I probably gave away too much already.
When did you start playing music?
I had a dream. I was a young kid when I started playing music. I had I had it around me forever, and have a great relationship with my parents, which is rare.
That's awesome.
You know, and so what my dad did inspired me, and continues to, and so I thought, oh, okay, well, this is something that, you know, I feel like both of my all of my siblings, I should say, my sisters and my brothers, all have music, you know.
So
in
where
us.
do you fall in the lineup? Who's like how many siblings?
I am the second youngest, but I'm the oldest with my mother. There have been,
Okay.
my dad was married 3 times previous, and had kids with, I think, the first and second of those marriages, or the first and third of those marriages, and so I have an older brother, a very much older brother, who passed away when I was about 5, 6 years old.
Oh, it's hard.
Yeah, and then we have my sisters who came from that marriage, and then we have my sisters who came from a subsequent marriage, and both of them are musicians, and yeah, and you know, we all have music in us, and the sisters from the first marriage have music in them too, and they have a lot
Everyone
of
has music in them in your family? Because no one in my family has music in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so interesting because I'm so not musically inclined. So to me, like, hearing that everyone in your family has music within them, I'm like, wow, that's a talented family.
But I don't consider it a talent necessarily. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've been, there's a Ken Burns country music documentary.
No.
And when you look at the original, like, my dad was born in 1933, which is the tail end, or right in the middle of the Great Depression.
Wow.
You know, and he's 86 years old.
Wow.
So, and his parents had music in them.
Okay.
But it's just, I feel like it's just something that, I mean, people did for church, people did on the farm, people sat around, like, and it's a talent, but you know, it's something that's so natural.
Right.
It's something that's like just such a part of living to that culture, to the, you know, whether you go to church and you listen to the hymns, or you go, you know, or you're you know, you're strumming a banjo, or, you know, you're
right.
You know, like the sitting on the porch playing piano. My Aunt Bobby is without a doubt one of the most incredible people that I know, and her and Dad together make like a legendary pair of brother and sister.
Really?
She's 90 years old.
No.
And he's 86, and they're on the road still.
They're still on the road.
Oh yeah, they're going
What
out
does
all the
she
time.
play?
I'm going to play. I'm actually leaving with them tonight. We just got a brand new bus for Dad. He loves it.
That's so fun.
And we're going up to Reno, and then we're gonna go play. My band's opening for him at the Frost Amphitheater in Palo Alto. And so my sister Bobby, to answer your question, plays piano in the band. He plays. Wait, what was your question? You asked what they play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you asked that.
I think I did. But so your band's called Lukas Nelson and the Promise of Real.
Promise of the Real.
Of
yeah,
the Real.
You know, POTR is
POTR.
POTR.
The
Promise of
abbrev.
Real. It's the abbrev. It's a little easier to say. I didn't want to change the name because it's literally a manifesto. I mean, once I heard that song when I was a kid, Neil's song, I was like...
So you heard Neil's song, Neil Young's song.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the listeners? Because you told me about
Promise of the Real was a name that started because the guys I was playing music at the time with really loved Neil Young. And
Who doesn't really love Neil Young?
And I love it.
I
I
love
grew
Neil
up with
Young,
him.
too.
With Farm Aid, every year we do Farm Aid with Neil, John
That's so
Mellencamp.
cool.
And so we do Farm Aid, which is also a big part of what I'm doing right now. I'll get into when we get into the record.
Okay.
But Neil was an inspiration because he was also, he kind of combined the folk and the country sound that I love with Dad, but then also has the grungiest, gnarliest super rock sound, you know.
Yeah.
And so that spoke to me a lot as a kid, and as a musician in my generation, that was what, you know, the music that I loved. You know, even growing up in this generation, I still love the music from the 60s and 70s much more.
I love the music from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I do too. And I think there are a lot of people probably feel the same way, and rock and roll is definitely alive and well.
Yes.
So having said that, Anthony and I, our drummer, loved Neil, started the band based on a song called Walk On, which is from On the Beach, and it says, some get stoned, some get strange, sooner or later it all gets real. And I thought, that's a promise, you know, and I thought, why don't I name my band, here's an experiment, what if I name my band Promise of the Real, so that I'm always reminded of why I'm doing what I'm doing, and it will be a constant guide for me when I'm making decisions, not to compromise, to have integrity, to do things for the art of it. And if I feel like I'm straying on that, I've always got my name to pull me right back into the right place and say, no, this is not who you are. You don't need to be doing this, because this industry, the music industry, the entertainment industry is very is tempting, because, you know, fame dangles its head at you, and
Right.
all these things that are means to nothing but very tantalizing in the moment.
Totally.
And like, so you start to believe that being famous is well, I should be famous because I've got good, you know. I don't care about that. What I care about is my art. I care about music. I care about making people happy, and I care about making myself happy. And music makes me happy, and it makes other people happy. That's the only reason I do it.
That's how I feel about comedy.
And comedy's the
Yeah.
same. Like, you're just sitting there laughing
Right.
about the world.
Right.
You know, you laughing because
That's all you can
shit's
do.
fucked up.
Sometimes
Yeah.
all you can do is
Yeah.
laugh, because you're like,
you have to laugh.
this
That's
shit
how
is
I want to
fucked.
die.
Laughing?
I know how I want to die. I want to die, and I've looked up my friend Logan Metz, who plays keyboards and everything. He plays steel for us. He's an amazing guy, and he looked up. He knew I wanted to die laughing,
Okay.
and he looked up, and this is like hopefully a long time away. I don't
Okay.
want to die now laughing,
Okay,
but I
okay.
want to die. So
Put that
don't
out
tell me
there.
that ultimate joke that you know, the one in the back of your, you know, I know
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got.
yeah.
I don't need to hear it right now.
Yeah.
However, I do think that when I end up going, I want my family, everybody. I want a great, loving. Even if I'm alone, I want to be at peace, and I want to just die laughing, looking at the sky, and I want it to start over somewhere or whatever, or not. I don't care. At that point, I'll be stoked. Just
At that point, I'll be stoked.
yeah, and so, you know,
It's done.
yeah. I mean, you know, what are we gonna? I did what I wanted. I yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, question.
Yeah.
How often are you on the road? A lot.
Well, yeah, we've been doing about 250 shows a year.
That's a lot of
since
travel.
Since I quit college. I went to LMU, which is down the
Oh,
road.
I know where LMU is.
Yeah,
I tried to get in. I didn't get in. I was rejected.
You were?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know, but I got into Chapman.
Did
I
you
went there
write an
instead.
essay?
I thought my essay was fire. They just didn't.
What was your essay about?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember. I applied to so many colleges. Did you?
No, that's the other thing. Maybe that's why I got in, because I focused my efforts.
I don't know. I
On-
dispersed mine.
Yes, I just had 2 colleges that I applied to. I applied to
LMU.
USF and LMU.
I applied to USF. I got into USF.
Yes,
And then I put
fist
my
bump.
money. I put my
Fist
money
bump.
down at USF, and then I went there, and I was like, I actually don't want to move to San Francisco. I changed
Yeah,
my
San
mind.
Francisco. Well, USF's campus. I've spent a lot of time in San Francisco, and the campus there is a little bit crowded. Like there's like it's like It's not like LMU where it's sprawled out on a bluff.
Yeah, LMU's very sprawling.
Yeah, it's like LA. It's more
Yeah.
it's a little bit more relaxed. And I thought that coming from Maui, where I came from, being in a very slow pace,
Right.
you know, of life,
Right.
you know, and happy that way.
Right.
I was like, I want to go somewhere I can surf and the water's not going to freeze me.
Right.
You know, I want to go somewhere where it's sunny a lot of times, at least not, you know, and it's warm.
Right.
And LA or San Diego, and I didn't really want to go to college in San Diego. There's no spots that really appealed to me. You know, I wanted to go to a more liberal arts college. I thought, and my parents also thought that it would be. Ultimately, I didn't want to go to college at all. This is my.
I mean, I didn't want to go to college at all either.
I just didn't want to go, and I ended up quitting for that because I knew what I wanted to do, which was play music, and I'd been doing it for a long time. You know.
So you were like, I'm not going to college. Did you complete any time at college?
Yeah, a year and a half about.
And then you're like, fuck this.
Basically, at LMU they have one cards.
What's a one card?
So a one card is I'm not sure if they still do this. This was 12 something years ago, but they have this system where you for each quarter have money on a card.
Okay.
That's allotted for participating locales. So like the cafeteria.
Yeah, we had that. I had a one card.
And then there was.
I forgot about those.
Yes, and then you could go to Domino's nearby and you could go to Taco Bell, and there was
We couldn't go to Domino's.
There was
and
Bristol
Taco Bell.
Farms or whatever that was right near.
Really?
You could get groceries with this, and they participated with the LMU system of one card because
Okay.
they're right there, you know.
Okay.
And so they knew a lot of kids would be walking around. Well, when I quit, did it very abruptly. I had there's probably some stuff that I'm going to, in very Mark Twain fashion, wait a few years before lest LMU get slightly pissed.
Yeah.
Basically, I just quit.
Right.
And how do I put this? So I had this money left on the card.
Right.
And I went and bought I left at that point, but I
Right.
told my buddy Logan, who's now
Yeah.
in the band again, full circle.
Cool.
And I said, you and our other friend Lincoln, would you mind buying as many Domino's pizzas as you possibly can with all this and distributing it to the homeless people in Venice?
That's cool.
Because I thought, what better way to spend this money
Right.
than to actually make sure that somebody's going to get a good day out of it, you know?
Yeah, out of you quitting college.
Out of me quitting college.
Everyone's partying. The homeless,
yeah.
you.
They literally had in shopping carts like 80 pizzas.
That's so cool.
And they went out, and I wasn't there, so I don't. But they could probably tell you better.
So you're like, you quit, and then you're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I was already on the road. I was
Really?
playing shows.
Did you tell your dad like I'm quitting college? And
Yeah,
he was like,
he initially said that was a good idea. He said it's important to get your education on the streets, and that's what I did. For the first 6 months, I was homeless, and I slept
What do
in
you
my
mean?
car.
You did?
Yeah, I slept in my car. I went and
Were your parents
and I
pissed?
wasn't really homeless. Like I could have gone home.
Right.
You know, but I chose to be. Basically, I'd read Siddhartha, which is,
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's the story of this
Buddha, right?
of a Buddha who, when he suddenly realizes that, you know, he has this journey to go on, and that he wanted to experience what it was like to have nothing, and then what it's like to have. So I went out and I gave myself these experiences in order to know myself better.
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
Because I knew, I mean, I grew up privileged, you know,
Right.
and I am privileged.
Right.
You know, I grew up with this, you know, famous dad, which is inconsequential because they're both good people. So that didn't happen. You know, he
Right.
was famous because he connected with a lot of people and they all respected him. That's the only reason that you would want to be famous, is that you do what you do really well.
Yes, and you bring people together.
And you bring people together.
Totally.
You
That's the
know.
only reason I feel like
Yeah.
to perform.
Yeah, and that's cool. But
Yeah.
like fame is not like a good thing. You can't walk anywhere and without being scrutinized or annoyed, or and so but basically I had good parents, and I just wanted to see if I could survive with little to nothing, and I could, and it made me feel better about myself as a human being. It's
Yeah, it does make you feel more empowered when you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like I can, because I do think there's something about like pursuing something artistic or creative
Yeah.
of like you kind of need like those experiences to
Yeah.
draw from to like
Absolutely.
push you
Yeah.
to like the next
How
level.
was I going to connect with the world artistically, or with anybody that mattered, if I was sitting atop my perch in heaven?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, in Hawaii, which
I
like
know,
when you draw
Hawaii
heaven, it looks like Hawaii.
So, how often are you in Hawaii? In between touring, you're in Hawaii, or?
How often am I in Hawaii? I'm there probably 2 times a year, but I've just gotten a new sort of business situation now, which is going to allow me to take a nice little vacation,
Cool.
hopefully. And it's been a long time.
That's awesome. So
I've been homeless effectively for a long time, but it's like the glamping kind of homeless where you get to have fun and you get to sleep in a bunk, but it's a nice bunk and it's on a bus that I like, and I get to sleep in hotels, and but I haven't really had a home since 2010.
So that's pretty crazy. I mean, just to always be on the road. How are you, like, are you burnt out, or do you feel invigorated from it? What are your thoughts about being on the road so much? Because for me, like, I go on the road every once in a while, and I'm like tired just thinking about it.
I think I get a surge of energy every night from the crowd. When I realize that what I'm doing is actually connecting with people, and that people are really into it, and that reciprocation, if you could bottle it, it would be more powerful than cold fusion.
I get it. That's what it feels like when you have like a good comedy set and you're like,
That's it.
I connected with these people, and there's like no high that's greater than that feeling of being like, okay, I literally talked through a microphone and connected with people.
Yep. And the Beatles weren't the Beatles before they worked really hard at being the Beatles in Hamburg and on the road all the time, getting in van wrecks, getting in, like you have to work to make your dreams happen.
Totally.
And they aren't just handed at you. You have to put. I was an athlete also when I was a kid. I was a swimmer, and I skateboarded. I did a lot of things, and I wanted to be the best at all of them. I've always sort of seen, I think my dad, I've seen his level of success, and I've seen my mom be such a badass, and I'd say, okay, well, whatever I do, I got to be really good at it.
Right.
And and that's not a bad thing to have have that push. It's not like there's a shadow. It's just like there's an inspiration.
Right.
And so so I have this inspiration here. I got to work like an Olympic athlete would work, and I knew what that felt like because I trained 2.5 hours to swim.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you say that, because even like with comedy, I have to be really disciplined about trying new material. And
writing all the time.
Writing all the time.
Yeah, you got to write.
Yeah, and
you got to be on the road.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that like, I'm also a golfer. Okay, so I'm not sure if you know basics of golf, but basically, there's so many metaphors to life, and also the musical career is very similar to it, because a golfer's career and a musician's career is very dependent on how they perform for themselves. Right?
Right.
And you, when you're playing music, you're basically, you gotta just hone those skills, man. You gotta be like, at this point, I feel like I am a master musician. I know how to go out and play, like one golfer would say, would be able to shoot in the low 60s, maybe even a 59 here and there.
Is 59 good?
It's really good.
Okay. Okay.
And I know, like, I don't feel, actually, you know what I'll take, because that's taking into account my entire skills, what I put, there's three things I've worked really hard at. The performance, and I worked really hard at the technical skills, playing guitar, and I've worked hard at singing and writing. Four things. Okay, and writing has been my most important goal. Like, I started writing when I was 10 years old, and I wrote a really good song that my dad liked, and it was great. It's called You Were It, and he put it on his record, It Always Will Be, so you could go look at that. And that was the first song I wrote when I was a kid, and I'm very proud of that song. I don't know how, it just sort of came, and so that's one of those things that I said, okay, this just sort of came, so I'm going to take that sign and put in all my efforts towards this.
Right.
And write, and then also guitar. I'm not the greatest guitar player, I'm not the greatest singer, but the combination of all of it, I would say that I could be at the level at some point of all my heroes.
That's amazing.
That's what I want to get to the level of my heroes. And in the same way, a golfer will aspire to be at the level of one of his heroes. There's Tiger Woods, which is probably Jimi Hendrix in the guitar world.
Yeah, I like these analogies.
Except that Tiger pulled himself out of a really dark place, and Hendrix, unfortunately, couldn't bring himself out of that
space,
self-destructive part of himself.
Yeah, there is a lot of the self with artists in general. Yeah. There is like two sides. It's like the side of like pure joy, and then like the side of like self-destruction.
Well, the heroes that I look up to in the music industry, and I'm sorry to interrupt, because you're absolutely right, but they do rise, get free from that.
That's what I think too. Yeah. I think that there's two directions you could go. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think it's interesting that you listen to Alan Watts and Ram Dass and those kinds of things, because to me, having some type of like spirituality / philosophy, something to like
just self-awareness,
all of that.
I think that's
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, self-awareness is the only way to put it, because honestly, if you start getting into spirituality and philosophy, you lose people.
Yeah, 100%.
You do, because then you start saying, this is what I believe.
Right.
And I really don't know anything.
Right. Totally.
All I know is that I'm aware of certain things that make me feel better and other things that don't. It's like energy. What is it? I don't know.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm cool not knowing. All I know is when I do things that are good, they make me feel good. When I do things that are bad, they make me feel bad.
That's a good way to go about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Question.
Yeah.
So sometimes we talk about fashion. I like your hat. Do you always do a hat? It's a good hat.
This hat, I'll tell you the story behind the hat. I have a great story behind this hat. This hat was, we do this show called The Luck Reunion every year. And it's at our ranch in Austin.
Okay.
We have there was a western town that was built on the ranch for the movie The Red-Headed Stranger back in the early 80s.
Okay.
And so the town still stands, and it's a place where Dad hangs out a lot. We've got a lot of horses out there that have been rescued. So we put my sister Amy Nelson is a big proponent of animal rescue. I digress. This festival that happens in this space is a really cool festival during South by Southwest, but not affiliated with it at all.
Okay.
So it's about a 40-minute drive out of Austin, and people are bussed in, and we have 2,000 to 3,000 people there every year. And it's basically regulated, so a lot of people don't get in, because it's, and it's a really, really cool. Nathaniel Rateliff we've had, Mavis Staples. I think we've had so many great
That's so cool.
local artists.
Yeah.
And so I'm there. And there's vendors in the back, and this person was selling hats. Worth and Worth was my friend Orlando and his wife, and she was there, and she's French, and I had learned the song La Vie en Rose, and I knew how to I know how to sing that song. Interestingly enough, I learned that song on my own and sang it in France with Neil, because we're also Neil Young's band now, full circle.
You are?
We back Neil Young as Promise of the Real.
That's so cool.
So we did Desert Trip with him, and we, you know, when he goes out and needs a band, he calls us, and we back him.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we've done that for the last 5 years.
That's awesome.
In addition to our own careers, we have that, and then we did Star Is Born, of course, the band. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I wrote 8 songs for that, and the band played all the music you hear on "Shallow" and all that. You know, that's
Really?
me on the guitar there. I wrote that little lick.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you know,
That's crazy.
So we did Promise of the Real, did Star Is Born, and with Bradley and Gaga. It was a great thing. We had a lot of fun. But I learned this song La Vie en Rose before all of that.
Okay.
And then she ends up singing it on the show, on the movie, which blew my mind because I had already learned it.
That's so weird.
So it's one of those, you know, phone committing suicide coincidences.
Is it synchronicity?
Yeah. Anyways, back to the hat. So
Yes.
I know this song La Vie en Rose. That was the backstory, and I was just kind of shooting the shit with her, and I had no intention of buying a hat, but I tried this hat on, and I don't know.
It looks good. It's a good hat.
It just fit.
It makes sense with you.
But it like fit my head
Perfectly. Yes.
Which when you try on a hat and it fits your head perfectly,
you gotta buy it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You gotta seriously consider it.
You have to at least.
You have to
consider
really
it.
consider it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good hat.
It's a great hat. And so what I did though was I didn't buy it. I ended up singing to her in French because I said, I happened to mention I know La Vie en Rose, and then she said, well, sing it. And so I sang it. And then she gave me the hat, and now her and her husband and I have a really great relationship and friendship, and I've worn this hat ever since. That was like 2 years ago, and I've just kept it. So
that's so cool.
It was given to me for a song, and I thought that's a good reason to tell a story.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up soon. So I want to touch on any music stuff that you want to talk about. An album.
Yeah. Well, I have this record that I did called the Turn Off the News, Build a Garden.
Oh, yes. Okay, turn off the news,
and
build
I
a
wrote this
garden.
song that really seems to be connecting with people. Turn off the news and build a garden, just my neighborhood and me. We might feel a bit less hardened, we might feel a bit more free. Turn off the news and raise the kids, give them something to believe in, teach them how to be good people, give them hope that they can see. And we wrote this whole record. I have this record, Turn Off the News, Build a Garden. And when we play it live, especially the acoustic version, it's great. But we put out this record, and this record it's doing really well. It was like 10 weeks at number 1 on Americana, and it's still like charting on the Americana charts, which we love. Americana, it's kind of what we do. So it's like, you know, so it's really successful within our circle of music. It's not a pop record, but
right.
you know, it's like I really feel like we made a great record. But there were so many unreleased songs that were not produced in a way like they were just raw, just
right.
And the band loves those versions so much, and we were like kind of ready to release it back then.
Yeah.
But then it became even more beautiful, and I'm grateful for that. But now we have this unreleased stuff, and it sounds really, really good, and it's just not, you know, there's just so much good material there that we're gonna release the stripped down stuff and call it the Naked Garden.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and to add on to that, before we wrap up, the whole push of Turn Off the News and Build a Garden has been in conjunction with, I think, what I believe are the 2 most important causes: climate action.
I love that.
And connecting. We need to save our family farms and our local farms and sustainable agriculture, making sure that the food we all get is good. And in a big city, there's as well, like in urban settings is where it's the most important, because if we can get urban trending local products where people are growing they're allowed to grow food. Do you know that it's illegal to grow food in a lot of zones and places
I didn't know
in
that.
the cities, because and I guarantee you that was from lobbyists from these multinational corporations who want you to go and buy from a store.
Totally.
And-
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
And so, it's a very conservative view. I don't want big agriculture in my life.
Food.
I want local food and local farming. So that and taking care of the planet. My argument is that, whether or not it's a hoax or not, it cannot hurt us to take care of our planet.
Totally.
There's just, whether you believe in climate change or not, we need to get our shit together.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That
totally.
argument is moot.
Right.
If you make your own bed, you should be able to clean your own planet.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And so that's the most important. And we are in dire straits when it comes to irreversible effects that we're having on the
Totally.
environment. Climate change is a separate issue from what we need to do right now. And okay, so that's my point. But what we're doing is using social media, like using our trusty phones, which sorry phone.
Yeah.
There are good uses for you. You are a tool for good. So we're using social media to do this thing called #GoodNewsGarden.
Okay, that's
where we
cool.
try and it's just in its infancy stages. We were doing it consistently for a while, but we really need to, I think, work on how to get the infrastructure down so we can make it take off in the right way.
Okay.
But we want to we want to gather our sources so that every time you can go online and feel good about actually doing something that you can help out with every single day.
I love that.
And that, because there's good news movements happening all the time, because there's always something bad you can look at and there's always something good you can look at, and the good stuff makes you feel better. So you might as well try and do that. And goodness also means taking action.
Totally.
Because those things make you feel good.
Totally. So the hashtag is one more time. Can you say?
#GoodNewsGarden.
Good News Garden.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
And then where can our viewers and listeners find you?
So on Instagram, is
Instagram.
where right now I'm at Lukas with a K, at
Lukas with a
Lukas
K.
Nelson Official on Instagram, and that is where the Good News Garden sort of rests. And also on Facebook, Lukas Nelson and Promise of the Real. You can find us. There's a couple verified accounts there that you can see. No fakers. There's a lot of scammers and fakers out there, and it's really sad. But those are the two things that represent us in the online world. Twitter as well. We're going to get it all working. I just switched everything, like management-wise and agency-wise and infrastructure-wise. The label is going to be more involved. We're going to get, I think it's going to be a more sort of updated thing coming up pretty soon in the next few months.
Cool.
But right now you can, if you don't want all that, you still got us on on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all that. So.
Do you post your show dates on Instagram?
On our website.
On your website.
Yeah,
What's your
Lukas
website?
Nelson. Actually, I think it may be on Facebook, but I don't know. I don't go on Facebook that much.
Okay.
But if you look up our tour dates on our website, promiseofthereal.com or lucasnelson.com.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And we'll link to all of that in the description so viewers and listeners will be able to find you easily.
Oh, great. Thanks.
And thank you so much for coming on. You were so much fun.
It's a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I hope you do many more of these so I can listen to them.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yay, thanks guys. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on YouTube, iTunes, all of the places. And thanks so much. Bye.